The big Xbox exclusive has finally arrived in our hands, everyone. Avowed from Obsidian Entertainment is here. Xbox Game Studios years ago announced that they were purchasing Obsidian Entertainment, and Avowed is the first game under that mantle that they've released with the funding from Xbox. So people have been really excited and hyped about the release of this game to see what Xbox can do for a game franchise. Because previously they came out with The Outer Worlds. I know, Austin, you played The Outer Worlds. You liked it? Did you like it?
I did like it.
It was good? Yeah.
It was very good.
Did you beat it?
I did beat it.
Okay, nice.
It was good.
Yeah. So this is their, what people are calling this basically Obsidian Skyrim equivalent of Bethesda, whereas The Outer Worlds was their Fallout game. This is kind of their Skyrim game, which, having played it, I don't fully agree with anymore, but I can see the similarities there. But at the core, Avowed is a first-person fantasy RPG set in the world of Eora. And this game also is in the universe of Pillars of Eternity. If you ever played Pillars of Eternity from the Obsidian team, this is in the same universe. So there's some crossover there. In this game, your choices carve a path through war, intrigue, and ancient mysteries. Navigate a land in turmoil, forge powerful alliances or deadly rivalries, and wield magic and steel to shape the fate of the living lands and your own destiny. This is available now for $69.99, so it's a full price game, or you can get it on Xbox Game Pass, part of the Game Pass, on day one. So it is out, Xbox and PC, and we've been playing it. Austin, how many hours you got in it?
I'd say about 4.
Cool.
4 or 5.
I am at 4.5 hours exactly, so that's where I'm sitting at. So we've both been exploring, running around. Jason, have you played this game yet?
No, I don't think I have any interest in playing it either.
It's on the Game Pass, though.
Well, I stopped doing Game Pass.
Yeah.
'Cause it sucks.
Wow, what a new... I'm just kidding.
Hey, you're not wrong. Like, all the proper games suck.
Dive in this game. It is a full open area RPG. It's not open world, so it's not one seamless open world, but there's several hub worlds that will have an open expanse. But the first world we go to is pretty big. Not the first world, but the first actual world that's open that we can explore, because you go to like kind of a tutorial world where you like run around and like do stuff to learn the mechanics, and then you go to a new land, which is like the big huge open space.
Can you go back to those areas? Like,
as far as I know right now, no. Not at least to that first location. Yeah. But you're in an area called, I believe, Dark Shore.
Sure.
And we're jumping in. I do want to say one thing that I thought was crazy about this game is that, you know how every game nowadays on PC especially is like, hey, we got to generate shaders for this game. And it's really frustrating.
That's so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Why for this?
So this game does have that when you launch it, and it took about 3 minutes to generate shaders. But I appreciated they actually told me what the shaders are and why they're loading them and why it takes longer. And I was like, finally, somebody tells me why this is such a pain in the ass. And it's because they're taking shader code and converting it to a format for your hardware specifically to make the visual effects and gameplay better for your experience. So they're basically taking the code and like optimizing it so that whenever you fire it up for the first time, it'll be ready for your system hardware. So that's why when you get a big patch, you have to do shaders again. I was like, thank you, Obsidian, for doing the thing that I've been waiting somebody to tell me. And then I was fine with it. So,
I mean, how many games has it been where they're just like, hey, we're doing this?
well, especially Call of Duty. I'm just like, what the hell,
Duty's
Call of
really
Duty?
bad
Like, you
about
just like
every
stop
time.
me from doing anything.
Yeah.
So,
At least Rivals has improved.
yeah.
At least on my end, like the shaders, like don't take. It used to take like 3 to.
Well, because most of the
2
stuff's
minutes.
been generated now.
Yeah,
So now
so
it's
This
just
last
like,
update,
This last update has improved it.
well, it took.
me.
It had to redo the whole thing for like 5 minutes again.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I stepped away and I was like, I guess I'm gonna make lunch. It's taking forever.
yeah.
Anyway,
So before we jump into like the game itself and everything, I want to talk about the character creator for a minute. So Austin, you've played a lot more RPGs than I have. How did you feel about the character creator and like setting up your character in Avowed?
I feel like you get more options than you would from a Bethesda game back in the day, but I just feel like there wasn't a lot going on here, and I guess it doesn't need to be. It was okay.
Yeah.
I guess overall it was okay.
What would you want to see more of then?
I don't know. I just feel like I couldn't make my character I wanted. I guess usually when I go to like some of the, obviously they have presets for certain things like face and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't really see anything that I really wanted, and they do give you the option to kind of like change some things on your face, but for me, like I don't want to do that because like the minute details is just like.
Yeah,
So what you're saying
like,
is
it
you're
takes
lazy.
too much.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I've messed with that stuff in the past, like Fallout 4. Like I got really heavily detailed into making character faces, and I was like, I've spent 3 hours on this. Like I just need to play the game. Why am I doing this? So it's like I like to get something that looks close to me because that's what I like to do. I like to find someone that looks closer to who I look like because that's just who I like to play.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all. If y'all just pick whatever.
I always make a female character because I'd rather look at a female character in the game than a guy. So
I always attempt to make the Joker.
Nice. Yeah, fair enough. See, we're all different
maybe
here.
make the Joker here, actually.
Yeah, you probably could. You probably could. And well, yeah, for the most part, like it's fine. You get options, and I did want to just rush through it to get to the game, honestly. So I was like, oh, okay. But like, just generally, like the main characters' selections, like those faces are just like nothing was really exciting. So.
Yeah, I thought the character creator was really good. I mean, I think it was very extensive for what it was, but I just think like the facial animations and the facial details are they look a little weird, kind of like Bethesda games. They look a little not quite human in a weird way, but they're not bad. You know, there was a lot of options here to customize and modify your character. So I did the face presets and I went in and did some subtle modifications to it, but I found a preset that I liked that I just rolled with, and same with the hair and stuff like that. So there's plenty of things to do, run sliders, change hair colors, put different, freckles on your face if you want, like different size beards, this, that, whatever. You have all those options. But one thing that's like unique to this is the godlike features. So one thing about this game that is different is that you are a godlike character, which means that you are, I don't know exactly, I can't remember the exact explanation of the lore, but it's basically like you've been blessed or have some kind of something from a god, and you don't know in this game who the god is that has like given you these powers, but you're special in this world.
So you're not a demigod, God just bestowed powers upon you.
Well, so
You might be a demigod.
Well, a demigod is like a child from God by human. Like, they fucked a human. Hercules was a demigod, and
might be
Kratos was a demigod.
That's true.
So
maybe that's not. I'm trying to remember too. Honestly, the story in this game was just like it's not worth
that's what
trying
I keep
to follow.
hearing is like the story is not that great.
Okay, when Brett does that, I'll say. So for me, it's just the delivery. I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but the delivery, like the dialogue, like the stuff that happens, it really tries to get you into the story. It's just like, can I play Baldur's Gate? Narration's way better.
I feel like Baldur's Gate has put a fucking like stigma on all these games, and just like,
well, that's the thing too. It's like I feel like
try Baldur's Gate, like tried, and obviously they like went above and beyond.
yeah.
But like just the cinematics, like talking to people, like facial animations, like I feel like I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda when these people are talking. Like the lips just don't match. They just go like this. They just open and close. I'm like, I really don't care now. Like any chance of me like getting invested is just like, no, not at all.
That's the problem with like these style of games from Obsidian and the Fallout stuff. It's just like, we talked about it before with what's that game called that y'all were bitching about a while ago? Not Star Wars, the Starfield.
Oh,
that one was really like I was turned off by it just because of that.
Facial animations.
The facial animations, it just seems just I'm not immersed in it. I'm not immersed in the conversation. I'm not immersed in talking to these people. I just want to click through it and fucking move on.
So with that, I think Bethesda was like, oh, this is just our style. We can get away with it. And it's like, no, that was your style back in the day when you couldn't do certain things.
Yeah.
We've come so far now. Like, you should be able, like, Baldur's Gate 3 was mocapping people. Like, every cutscene was basically mocapped.
Yeah.
So, and you had people actually talking, and they would, render that out and make the changes as they needed. And it's like, you guys can't do that? $1 billion? You got Microsoft? Well, I mean, at that point, no, they're not going to do that because that's way too much. Anyway.
So apparently a godlike is a kind of being whose soul has been touched and influenced by one of the gods.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like you've been blessed in a way or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
You got a little god spurt on you.
So in that, you have this opportunity to add godlike features to your character, and you do have a toggle option where you can choose whether or not that shows up, because the godlike features can be as simple as like little like flowers above your eyebrows, or it can be like half your face is mushrooms, or like that covers up your face, and they're all kind of weird looking and stuff. But I left it on because the actual, and I was glad I did, because the most in the game, this is a common thread where people react to you based off of your facial features of like, oh, you're a godlike. Oh, I've never seen one before. I've never encountered one, or like, oh, I didn't realize that your face would look like that. You know, like things of that nature. So it gives you new dialogue options to respond to with that.
Is it
piece of
good
it.
being godlike in this
Yes.
game?
Yeah. I mean, well,
Or with just certain people?
people they don't understand you, so therefore they're a little hesitant.
Hesitant.
Of you.
Okay.
So you kind of have to prove yourself in a lot of ways, but it's good for you because you have special powers.
Got it.
So like you'll unlock throughout the course of the game at certain story beats godlike abilities. One of which is like I have a godlike ability I just unlocked that I believe lets me heal my entire party up to like 50% with like one click.
Yeah.
And for like one time to like revive back. So it's kind of like a.
No, I was just curious
super
about
buff.
the NPCs around. Like, is there a faction that doesn't like these types of people, or are you just a one of a kind person that is godlike, or do you encounter other godlike people, or
Well, so you were sent here from an
Yeah,
emperor.
you're the only guy like
you're the only guy.
so far.
Right.
There might be more later.
You were sent here from by an emperor to come and like investigate this this disease thing, this like spore thing that's like spread around the area. But the faction that you come from, people don't like. Like the group that you come from, they don't really love that much. So there's a little bit of a conflict there as you're walking around. They're like, oh, you're from like that group. Like not everybody likes you. Now there's a town where it's like your people. So they're like, okay, you're cool or whatever. But when you get out and about, like they're like, not everybody, you have to kind of win some affection in different ways. So there's some of that, but
And they're always talking about your face. I chose not to have the god features. And everyone's like, oh, what's wrong with your face? Oh my God, your face. Who are you?
Oh,
You're like, I'm a god like, oh, I'm so sorry.
So even if you don't have the features on,
Yeah,
they
they keep
say
saying
yeah.
yeah.
And they mentioned that when you have that toggle, that's like, it's not going to affect the gameplay. I mean, it's going to affect the gameplay. You can't see it, but people are still going to react to you.
still gonna react
Yeah.
to you being godlike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like the infected from The Last of Us, basically.
Yeah, that's what. That's what
I was like,
noticed.
what?
That looks, yeah.
This is not what I would expect from a godlike, maybe like, I don't know, anything else but spores on my face.
Well, I chose little flowers. They look nice and pretty on my
Spore
character's
flowers?
face.
Yeah,
They aren't spores. They're flowers. They're flowers. Yeah.
They're just flowers.
They're not all mushrooms.
Yeah, flowers growing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
They're all mushrooms, Brad.
No, they aren't. This
They're
one
all
wasn't.
disgusting.
Well, this was not a mushroom. So.
He wants to look pretty.
I'm telling you what the game was. I don't want to mislead people. You have options to not do
this is
mushrooms.
the Last
on
of
your
Us.
face.
You're infected.
Yes. I want to
I will
make sure
say
we're clear.
the mushrooms were very vibrant too.
Yes,
And
yes.
We're looking like that.
Yeah.
And there's some that you could put all over your eyes,
Yeah.
your face.
Yeah.
I was like, that already kind of.
Yeah. Most of the options weren't great looking for sure. Yeah.
So a faction sends you out to your faction sends you out. Emperor sends you out to investigate what
there's like a plague.
darkness.
There's like a dark.
Every
it's like, yeah,
fucking
just like every
RPG,
game, you know,
there's
you
a
got-
darkness out there.
You got some kind of dark. It's like a plague that's infecting people and it's making them crazy, basically. Yeah.
It's always gotta be dark.
Yeah. They're getting infected
Because you got to have a villain,
with the
man.
spores
You gotta have a villain.
of the mushroom god that's changing people. And they show you this cutscene in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like some lemur squirrel thing gets thrown into the forest and dies. And then like transmutes into like being infected with fungus and goes off into the wilderness, spreading
So-
its plague.
Austin, you don't like the story. Brett,
Yeah, I've been skipping everything.
how do you feel about the story?
I love this game. Like I am really, really enjoying it.
I would say the story,
Yeah,
but okay.
I don't. Well, no, I
So
mean
the story,
the story. I don't. The story is like right now like a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
So it's not like the best part of the game. But I don't mind the story. I think there's some interesting stuff happening here. I like some of the dialogue options that are available. Now it's not Baldur's Gate, but I'm trying to be comfortable with the fact that I'm not always going to get a Baldur's Gate experience. So like we've put Baldur's Gate is on such a high pedestal that we can't I've come to the realization that I can't compare everything to Baldur's Gate because of the fact that Baldur's Gate is a once in a generation kind of game, probably,
Yeah.
or like once in a decade, maybe, or something like that. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, and things will get better. But we also are getting games that haven't been able to react to Baldur's Gate yet and realize that they fucked up. So we can't hate on a game for not being like Baldur's Gate because this game was started before Baldur's Gate came out. So you can't just be like, okay, let's can this game and then work on something else, which they did reboot this game twice. Because one thing that I thought was interesting is this game originally was going to be a Destiny-like open world co-op game, experience. So that was the original plan, was that they were doing a... Let me pull it up here. Hang on a minute.
I would have bought this game if it was like that, to be honest.
Let me pull up the article because this is what I thought was... This kind of gave me an interesting kind of perspective on the game itself in knowing and why it was, delayed so much. So in Bloomberg, they said that it was going to be a seamless open world. It was going to have co-op or even a live service multiplayer component, and it had to be rebooted 2 years after pre-production. Originally, it was being sold as, what did they say? It was almost like going the direction of Redfall in a way.
Oh.
Where it was going to have this whole Destiny meets, there was some other game that they were comparing it to. I cannot remember. Meets Skyrim. There you go. Destiny plus Skyrim co-op vision that was scrapped early in their 6-year game development. So they were going down this path, and then they were like, no, we probably shouldn't do this. Let's just focus in on building a first-person experience or a single-player experience.
Yeah.
And they pivoted, and then this is what we've got from that. So it's kind of interesting thinking about that because I could see there being a co-op in this game would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put it that way, the cutscenes and the facial animations do remind me of something like, I guess even Oblivion Online, not Oblivion, Skyrim Online,
Skyrim Online?
Morrowind Online, or whatever. What's the one?
Well, I mean,
Bethesda Online.
Really, it's still just Bethesda. I mean, Bethesda still does this, but worse. I mean, the Starfield was worse than this was.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad to say because Starfield was like their big, huge, epic,
Big,
thing,
huge,
but-
epic.
Well, I feel like the Outer
Everyone's still
Worlds
talking about it.
was better, overall, with facial animations than this was. So I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the facial. I want to go. I wish I had jumped into Outer Worlds before I started this just to see and compare.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm not remembering it right. But if this is what Outer Worlds had, then maybe just because of the time and the place, it's like, oh, yeah, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
But then coming now, it's like, overall, it just feels lazy. And I know before we were like, okay, we think Baldur's Gate 3, once in a generation game. But honestly, I feel like the money that they spent, they didn't spend a crap load of money that some of these other AAA titles are spending. So the fact that they're able to get away with it, I think it's just the leads not helming the ship right. It's people being lazy. There's a lot of people in the gaming industry, just in America, who are just lazy and they don't want to work and put the time into it. And we're getting games like this. It's like, oh yeah, this is fine. Everyone's like, yeah, this is fine. This is great. We all love this. And I'm sure they do. I'm sure they, obviously, this isn't just something you just do. I don't want to say that they didn't do anything, but I feel like the time and effort that put into some of these other games like Baldur's Gate 3 is just not what the people for games like Avowed are doing. Because right now, I mean, we have AI and stuff. You can generate worlds in 3 seconds, and then you just fill it with certain things.
But you gotta realize when this game came out, this game was worked on 3 years before any of those AI tools were available. That's only been out in the last year.
Fair
So
enough.
I think you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt that this was made during a different time. Now, I mean, they were supposed to be made in the last 6 months. This was made in the last 6 years. So a lot of that stuff has changed in the last 6 years. It's not fair to them to say oh, well, you should have done this because we just saw that tech demo yesterday of oh, AI can build a AI monster now. Well, that's text. That's a tech demo.
I feel like we've seen tech demos 5-6 years ago. Not to say that they're using that, or obviously those were just proof of concept.
Yeah.
And I would assume by now that those things would be available to make. I mean, they have procedurally generated stuff now, but I mean, I won't say that's actually AI that's doing that. But
most of it's just like
I just feel like the
Unreal. You can
tools
just, like,
are there.
paint stuff around. But I think the world. So do you not like the world too? Like, what do you like anything about this game? That's my question.
What do you like about this game?
I was
I'm not
surprised you're
attacking you, Brett.
I know. I'm just surprised you
not
hate it so
attacking you.
much,
Feel
man.
like you're
Well,
attacking him.
You're not attacking, but I'm just like, I don't agree with your response because I feel like these developers did work hard on this game and spent 6 years trying to make something that was really, really good. You're basically like, oh, they were lazy. They didn't work hard on this game. It sucks. That's what I'm hearing from you.
I think,
you know what I mean? And I think we need to kind of be a little bit
I'm
more.
not targeting them specifically. I just feel like the greater industry as a whole is just lazy to the fact that you have all these other games coming out from China and obviously different work circumstances. In China, you probably don't get a lot of breaks. I get that. But they are putting the work in and coming out with games that are finished, polished. We don't have to get in the story, but I would say the stories are probably a little more thought out and like they're putting in like they're high quality games, and we just don't get that in this industry right now. And yeah, this is a game of its time, but still, like even if it came out 3-4 years ago, maybe I would think a little differently of it. But the industry is moving quick. Like you have to think ahead. Like you have to be like, okay, what can we do now that's going to still be good to play in so long? And if it's just because this game was delayed, it should have came out a while ago. And that's the issue with a lot of games right now. Is like they just keep getting delayed and changed, and it's like, well, what do you expect when it comes out? I originally did not want to continue playing this game after like 2 hours, given the dialogue and the characters and stuff. And I'm just like, I'd rather just play Out of the Worlds. But I do like the combat. I like that you can switch between like 2 different loadouts. Like you can be a spellcaster, and you can carry a sword and shield. So it's like, oh, okay, I want to get up close and personal. Or I want to stand back and just do some some magic stuff, which I feel like the magic is like the best part of the combat so far.
Yeah.
I felt like everything else was boring. But then you have all these, you can, have abilities and stuff that you can get with points and things. And that kind of tailors you to like, almost pigeonholes you, I feel like, into like picking one kind of loadout in a way.
Is that part again?
Like going to do the abilities and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It kind of pigeonholes you into one area.
Okay.
I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as you get more points, you can spread them out. But early on, I'm like, okay, I think I just want to focus on being a wizard.
Yeah.
When my first skill was a charge, so I was like, let me get rid of that. I'll get the homing missiles for magic, and then try to be a wizard.
What was your background that you chose?
I don't remember.
What was your first weapon that you picked up on the island?
I think it was an axe.
Okay.
Did you have an axe too?
No.
No.
I had a different one. I'm trying to think which one that would be. I wonder if you were the more.
Oh, you know what? I picked the
magic one.
warrior. I think I picked the warrior one.
Okay.
But now I'm a
right.
magic guy.
No, you're a magic guy.
Yeah.
I assumed I would like,
You're a
just-
wizard, Austin.
I assumed I'd like the physical stuff, and then I was like,
Yeah.
no, I actually like doing this way better.
Yeah.
So,
That's why the axe isn't working for you. It's not a wand.
yeah. I mean, it was fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, yeah. So I have the opposite effect on this game. I'm actually really, really enjoying it a lot.
Well, before you say that,
Okay.
I have enjoyed the combat enough, and now that the world's like open after that first little town,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this feels more like Skyrim.
It's just the story bits aren't getting.
Oh yeah,
to-
I'm just skipping
What was
everything.
what was the last RPG game that's like this that you played that you enjoyed the story beats? I'm trying to figure
Skyrim.
out. Probably so. It's probably Skyrim, but I'm just curious.
No, I mean Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate,
obviously.
besides Baldur's Gate,
Before
I'm
Baldur's
looking- I'm
Gate, yeah.
looking for like.
Because Baldur's Gate is up here,
Yeah.
and we're like down in this
And plus-
realm. So like,
Let's
what
be,
was another
Downhill.
game that you
and
played?
that's where I don't want people to get confused because Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate is still a different game because it's a different game mechanics and play
Yeah, it's
style
true,
and all
it's
that
true.
jazz. So what I'm asking is what type of game that is like this game, but it's not like Baldur's Gate at all.
I'll think about that.
Okay, think about it.
yeah.
You have one?
But the whole thing, the whole thing is like the story. The story is what I really want to get into. And I think with Baldur's Gate, it's like you have this good story that gets you into the game, and then
Yeah.
you have the cutscenes, and they're done really well. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter about the mechanics. I could
Yeah.
be playing a game like this in that world, and I would have the same amount of fun. Actually, probably have more fun, like doing the you know, what is
Asymmetrical. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah, asymmetrical.
Yeah, it's like I enjoy that
Isometric.
I enjoy that now.
Yeah.
But if I was forced to choose, I'd rather play a first person game like this.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that this would be a decent story to kind of suck me in. And for me, that's always really on the top of my list of stuff. So that already we're going downhill on my end.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Damn. Well, I wish we made 2 videos, so we could have had one of Austin hates this game, but Brett really likes this game.
Really likes this game.
Because I feel like everybody's going to drop off at this point, but
What? No,
I still want to talk about. Well, I mean, yeah,
Don't go anywhere. We got good things to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just,
you're hearing both sides. This is
I'm in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm listening too.
you never.
based on videos, though, like usually they drop off after. If you're still listening to this, thank you so much, because I'm about to tell you why this game is really fun. But I really enjoyed it a lot. Now I'm trying again, like Austin was bringing up Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. I'm trying not to compare it to Baldur's Gate because that's like a special thing that you just can't compare it to, But I think in this case, like having just come off of Dragon Age, especially, I really enjoyed Dragon Age, even though the internet was like blowing it up and stuff like that. Right now, I feel like this is actually maybe a better game than Dragon Age. And I beat Dragon Age and 100% of that pretty much. I think I could see myself doing that with this. And there's a couple reasons why. Like story-wise, I don't love the story yet, but I'm hoping as I get into it, I'll enjoy the story more. There's some interesting bits and beats here throughout that I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is interesting. Like I like the character dynamics and dialogue. Like one thing that I thought was interesting is the first companion you get, his name's Kai. He's the voice of what's his name? The big guy from I want to say Gracchus, but it's not Gracchus, from Mass Effect. Starts with a G.
Garrus.
Garrus, thank you. That's it. Yeah.
Gracchus. I was like, that's Travis.
Yeah, so he's the voice of Garrus from Mass Effect, which is kind of cool. So it's like, oh, you got like a little familiarity there, So he's kind of interesting. And there are some bits of this where I feel like it feels a little dated with the dialogue, talking dialogue and stuff like that. But what I do like about this is in Dragon Age, you cannot be a dick. You can't be an asshole. You have basically light, medium. Like you have the same kind of language. Mm-hmm. In this one, you can kind of be a snarky asshole if you want to.
I like it.
They do have that option. Whereas like in Baldur's Gate, like I don't think you can go to the level of Baldur's Gate where it's like
burn down
I'm going to burn down the city. But there are options here. I was explaining to Jason before this off camera. There was a moment where very early in the game where you have this woman who's in prison, who's locked up, and your companion that you're with at the time is like, hey, I don't trust her. We should leave her locked up. So you have a decision. Do I leave her locked up or do I rescue her? So I was like, I'm going to let her out. Even though she's kind of being an asshole to me, I'm going to let her out just to see if she changes her tune. And she was being a dick. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to let her out anyway. So I went and got her out. And then because I let her out, she then was like, okay, maybe you're not as bad of a godlike as I thought you were. I've given you the benefit of the doubt now. I'm going to like
be with you,
work with you, and we'll like do this thing. And then so she helped me get to where I was going, and had I not rescued her, it would have just been me and my one guy fighting people, but then I had me, the one guy, and her fighting. So that whole next like phase was completely different, and I had support because I let her out of that prison cell.
Okay.
So stuff like that I thought was kind of cool, where it's like that's a significant change in that micro moment of the game that like Dragon Age never really rewarded me with, or any like this does have more of that sense of choice where things that you say and react to, like I know that like I chose the court augur background, which basically means that I'm kind of like leaning. It's the backgrounds really more influence your initial stats and then your weapon, kind of your weapon choices,
but
or your
first weapon choice. It doesn't really affect like choices, though.
It does affect dialogue too. So it does give you options. So I'm like kind of a person that's have a sense of understanding of magic and things of that nature. And I think I was with the Emperor. Did I write this down? I think I wrote it down somewhere. I'll pull up exactly what it was, but there's some dialogue that allows me to react. Like I have a different dialogue option when I'm responding to people in a lot of ways that lets me choose the court augur dialogue option.
Okay.
In order to respond to things. So in it, let's see here. So, when your village crops fail, Hang on a minute. I'm trying to find it here. So I want to give you a description of what it means correctly.
Well, he's looking at a scale of 1 to 10 RPG element of this game. What would you give it? No reason why. Just
Okay.
a scale.
I mean, I give it an 8. I mean, if you go purely on the mechanics of the game for RPG, like it's all there.
Okay.
Like you can talk to people, you have companions, you can upgrade weapons, you can go kill, do side quests and go kill, little mini bosses to get you better weapons and armor.
Because the only reason why I bring that up is because like Dragon Age, RPG element just wasn't there. It didn't have the effect, the weapons, the crafting wasn't in there. It didn't feel like an RPG game.
Yeah.
The same way with that latest Final Fantasy game. That's what I felt from it. It was supposed to be like a full RPG element style game, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
So the court augur is your village crops fail, your strange insights and unsettling manner earned your neighbor's suspicion. You foresaw the torches and pitchforks and fled to High Crown, where the emperor recognized your talents and elevated you from a back alley fortune teller to his personal mystic. You have learned how to wield power from the shadows. All it takes is a dash of influence and a pinch of deception. So my traits are leaning into perception and intellect, which helps me with magic, essence, which is what the mana is essence in this game, and then also perception, so critical hit chance, and then range. So I do a lot of magic focused stuff, which is kind of what I want to kind of build my character around. So I wanted some range, but I didn't want to be like just a bow and arrow person. So I have one thing that I really like about this game is you can have 2 different loadouts in your person, and you just press a button to like swap between those loadouts.
yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
That's
So-
pretty cool. Does it change how you look too? Like when you swap over?
No, it's just the weapons.
Just the weapons you're holding.
Yeah.
So it's like I have one hand, I have a shield and then a mace, which is the first weapon I got. And then I can switch then to my grimoire book, which lets me cast magic, and a wand.
So you basically
I
can switch
can do
between
that.
2 different classes. That's pretty cool.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you build out your
This is
class.
One of the cutscene things, I was just like, what?
That's weird.
It was weird.
Yeah. You build out your class based off of you have 3 different ability point sections you can fit into: fighter, ranger, and then wizard.
Yeah.
So, and then you have your godlike powers, which is another tree itself. So you can decide if you want to go. You don't have to do any of those 3. You can pick them, choose which ones you want, and mix and match if you like. But they definitely lean towards certain capabilities. So I'm mostly going down the wizard tree, but I've done a little bit in the fighter side because there's some elements of that I want, like maybe more health or passive buffs or whatever that I can pull from that. So you can kind of build a lot of unique characters that like Dragon Age did not have, or a lot of like this is a true RPG in that sense where the amount of points you have in things dictate what kind of dialogue you can respond to. Your background dictates what you can say or do. Your character loadout and ability strengths and stuff can adjust how you can do certain things. Like my character, for example, also like has really bad. I can't block very well, but I'm a little bit more agile, so I can like dodge. You can hit spacebar and like dodge out of the way.
Yeah.
So I can do a lot of dodging, but my block isn't as effective. So there's some adjustments with that. But and you can also upgrade all your weapons too, up to I think 16 times, I believe. There's like 4 different tiers and then 3 options in each tier. So there's a lot of, and that's just done through crafting. So you find a bunch of stuff throughout the world, and you collect materials and resources, and you use that to then upgrade your weapon. So you don't have to be swapping out weapons a lot. Because that is one thing that I've learned is there's not a lot of unique weapons that I've discovered. I have discovered some, but you have to really dig to find them. But I appreciate that there is a significant, like if you have a weapon that you start with a common wand, for example, at the beginning, you can upgrade it a significant amount to make it way stronger without having to find something new to swap it with. Yeah. But the combat for me is like outstanding. It's really, really good. And I thought the combat like in Dragon Age just coming off of that was really, really good. This combat here I think is better in a lot of ways. I mean, I like the controlling your other characters in the other game, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff here with the sometimes I use the sword and board or the mason board, if you will, to do certain encounters because, for example, when you're fighting a big boss, they like to get up in your shit.
Yeah.
And I can't do magic as well with that because they're all on top of me. So that's when I pull out my brute kind of style to like fight them in that way and do blocks and hits and blocks and hits. But if there's a large group of people, I'll pull out my magic and I can cast like a fireball that just like burns anybody in front of me, or I can do an ice freeze that like freezes a character in front of me, or I can do electricity that like electrocutes and like bounces off of different people in different areas. Yeah, chain lightning. So freaking cool. And then you have a shield you can put around yourself for like 20 seconds that like protects you from incoming damage and stuff like that. And all this stuff is very intuitive to just like quickly do like fireball, wand, fireball, wand, chain lightning, boom, boom. And then you just like kill a bunch of people and it's really satisfying. And it's all in real time too, which is nice, you know? So it's like, you know, those that in Baldur's Gate didn't like the turn-based combat, this is 100% real time and you're moving around a lot when you're in combat. And there's first and third person. So if you want to go third person, you can, which doesn't feel bad. I play first person, but if you want to switch,
I need to do third person. I saw you could, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to try that."
Yeah, you just have to press U, and it just swaps instantly. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I didn't know that. Well, for me to sum up what my whole gripe with this is, I think maybe the Outer Worlds is very similar to this, but because it's like space and it's like Fallout meets being in space, like I guess just sci-fi in general, like I can just easily just fall into that world because I have no expectations. But when it comes to like medieval stuff and fantasy, like my expectations for that are very, very high.
Dude, there's so many of them out there probably.
That's just so like good. That's my jam. Like sci-fi and space for you is your jam. Like this is my jam. So when it comes to this, I'm gonna be way more critical than if it was the Outer Worlds.
Yeah,
which I really enjoyed the Outer Worlds, and maybe there's a lot of similarities. I'm just not remembering them all. And obviously, this is made a little differently. I feel like, but I mean, it's made by Obsidian, so it's going to be similar. Anyway,
I think one of the things about this game that might be the turn off is that there was a really distinct tone to the Outer Worlds that this game doesn't quite have. Like the Outer Worlds was like snarky, had like this interesting, kind of have the Borderlands humor in a way.
Yeah,
and I think they really leaned into that a lot. That I think made it unique. In the sphere of things. This one has like mushrooms on a face, you know, but it's like there's not like a tonal component here that like I feel like this game, you know, a lot of people are comparing this to Skyrim. This game is very different from Skyrim. Mechanically it's similar, but like Skyrim is so grounded in like realism. I mean, it's magic, but it's like kind of a realistic fantasy feeling almost. This one's very colorful and more fantastical kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't still have like tonally it feels like it's in the same realm. There's nothing here that's like really setting itself apart in that tone other than like visual art direction. You know what I mean?
There's a way that Skyrim, you know, opened up. You're a captive, you don't know what happened, you're gonna be put to death, there's a dragon that comes and like disrupts everything, and now you're free, and it's just like, what the heck? And it's a very like darker world.
Yeah.
And there's like political stuff going on with factions warring against each other that you get to participate in. And I'm sure some of that is going to be in this game, but I felt like on the onset, like all that was kind of there. And you're like, whoa, like all this is happening and I get to participate in all this.
Yeah.
And this is pretty like, at least opening up is very like, okay, let's get you going. Here's a linear path. And it seems like it starts to open up. And I assume it's going to open up even more, especially when you go to other locations or faunas and stuff. So,
yeah, I really like one thing I do want to talk about is I think the world design of this game is really, really good. I feel like you can tell that this whole entire world was handcrafted, which is not very common anymore. But like I explored, like, you know, Austin, if you can see the map, you know, you have that like river that divides like between like the area you start in and then like where the big town is you're supposed to go to. I've explored every inch of that left side so far and just like went up and down and just like went through all of it. So I went through these caves and went up on top of cliffs and like out through all these different things. And there was just like a lot of interesting stuff to find there. Which, as y'all know, in Skyrim, I didn't love Skyrim because it was so big that I was just like overwhelmed. And plus I was a different gamer back then too.
Yeah.
But like I felt that it was not, to me, Skyrim felt like you use AI to just like drop a bunch of shit into a world and like, you know, but you didn't. But like that's what it felt like. This one feels like they went in there and like handcrafted every little piece, which I know that's not fair to say because Skyrim was a handcrafted world, but it just felt not as unique, I guess, in different areas. It just felt like this big open expanse of wilderness, whereas this has a lot of like these little colored lights and little faunas and things I've never seen before, and like caves and stuff like that. It's like really interesting to see all these different fantastical, weird, different things that aren't natural in the world that we live in. And I think for that, I appreciate that. And just like navigating around, it's like I'm walking through this like lower section, and then I'm like, oh, there's like a whole bunch of bridges up there that I need to go up and figure out how to get to. So then I go up on the bridges. Like there's a sense of exploration here that I was surprised I had, that I haven't had in like bigger, massive open world games. And I think because it feels more digestible because it is going to be different areas, that I can feel a sense of completion sooner than I do in a bigger map. So like it almost feels like a game made for me in a way, because it is like a light version of what a full, big, massive Bethesda style RPG would be like, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm trying to see what other notes I had here that I want to talk about. I do agree though, the facial animation design is a little rough, but I think the world kind of helps to offset that in the combat. Like that's like the dialogue part of it isn't great, but everything else about the game has been really good so far. Playing through it, the UI is a little busy in places, but I've gotten a hang of it now, and I figured it out, and I like know what I need to do to kind of build out my character. One thing I wish they had done at the beginning of the game, because you can't change your character's look and feel, and you can't change anything once you create your character. I wish they did a better job at saying, like with those backgrounds, for example, your background means that you lean towards this type of weapon and this type of stuff. Because I think had they done that to kind of explain what your character was, it was more ambiguous. But if I looked it up online, I was like, oh, Court Augur is kind of like a warlock. And then this character is kind of like a ranger. This character is kind of like a mate. Like I wish they had kind of described that better and not made it so vague, which I mean, you can like mix and match stuff a little bit more. So I guess that's why they didn't do that, because they aren't fitting into like these little groupings. But I think it would have helped to know, especially for a lot of people, knowing that based on which one you pick, you start with a different weapon.
Yeah.
So that can make a big difference at the beginning of the game. So
had no idea.
yeah.
I should start over, just so I can get the wizard buff.
Start over.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So Avowed, it's here. It's out. What are you thinking, Jason?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. It looks fun, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not going to
I'm
pay
on-
$70 for it?
Yeah, I'm on the fence about it. Like I'm trying to give it a chance. I'm trying to like fill it out a little bit, but yeah, I don't know.
You got the Game Pass. You might as well pick it up if you
pick
want
it
to try
up.
something new.
Yeah. I think for Game Pass subscribers, it's like a no-brainer just to jump in and give it a go. I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised and really enjoy it. If you like big, open, explorative RPG games, like this has really good RPG mechanics. It's got really good combat. It's just the story is like not what you'd expect it to be. And that's kind of a bummer, but the other stuff kind of makes up for it for me in a lot of ways. And I'm hoping maybe the story gets better as time goes on, It might change it, but it hasn't been a deterrent for me yet, because I'm like, I love just running around just finding shit. That's been fun. So I dig it. So Austin, if you were to give a rating right now, knowing that you haven't played a ton of it, but I'm curious like where you would sit in that rating holistically.
Like a high 6, at the very max a 7.
Okay.
Just because I am liking the magic gameplay.
Yeah.
So, and then the worlds do like as it opens, it does look like I was like, ooh, there's a lot to explore.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do.
Yeah.
Go dive into caves and stuff. But yeah, a lot of the people I meet, I just skip everything. I'm like, you got a quest? All right, let me go do the quest. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Just get me in the world.
Just get me in the world.
Yeah. I'll probably 8, leaning 8.5 is where I'm sitting right now. So higher for sure. If the dialogue stuff was a little bit better, but definitely pushing it on 9. As the facial animations are a little stiff, but gameplay wise. I mean, it's a beautiful game. It's really fun to play, and it runs pretty well too. I was surprised. I'm running DLSS 3, I guess, or whatever, but it hasn't been chugging really that much. So I like it. Avowed. It's out now.
What do you think?
Xbox and PC.
Love it? Hate what I said? Leave in the comments.
That's right.
Y'all be getting all the hate. I want some hate now.
All the fucking hate, dude.